much of what we do in the Satvatove Institute School of Transformative Coaching in our courses is much of the skill development is based on the systems for counselor training that I developed and facilitated back into the early 80s. And something that very much resonated with me is that these are universal principles, universal skills, not just for counselors, psychologists, coaches, social workers, but for anyone interested in excellence in interpersonal relationships, anyone interested in mastery and communication. I remember this is about 10 years ago, and there was someone, it was a woman in her 20s, and I had known her for about 10 years. She had taken some seminars I taught in New York, in Manhattan, like 10 years prior. So I had some contact with her, and she was always interested to get coaching. And then one day she actually signed up for a package of coaching sessions with me. And so we kind of live in the same town. So for her first session, she comes to my home office. So it was an in-person session. So we sit down for our first session. And the first thing she said is, she said, "I decided that I matter enough to have a coach." And that's why she was there. So that moved me. It's more than a decade later, and I'm sharing it, that she made a determination that mediocrity was not acceptable anymore. She was dedicated to live a life of excellence. And when she said that, I decided I matter enough to have a coach. Then I felt challenged. I felt nervous, I'll say, in a good way, because I felt on the spot that she was, she's like, "I'm ready to play my A game in life, dedicate to excellence in all areas of life, give 100%. I'm tired of sitting, I'm tired of being a spectator in my life." So that means that there was no room for me to just go through the motions. We did another session. It demanded me to be at my best, to be on my A game, so to speak. And so that was challenging in a good way. Well, okay, we've used a few sports analogies. So another sports analogy, once in a while, not so much recently, but once in a while, I play a little tennis. So in the game of tennis, I don't need a coach, because in the game of tennis, I'm committed to mediocrity. If you were to see me on the courts, you'd agree. There's a man committed to mediocrity. Or less, mediocrity or less, consistently, forehand, backhand, consistently. Now, Roger Federer and Nadal and Djokovic, they want coaches, right? Their games are at like unbelievable levels of excellence. And they want the top coaches because they always want they aspire for higher and higher levels of excellence. So I'm saying like in this transformative coaching, in the Satvatove spirit, if we have areas of life where one or two notches above mediocrity that's okay, it's good enough, then there's no reason for coaching. And this is what I share with clients and potential clients and those who are considering to participate in Satvatove coach training in courses like Principles and Practices of Transformative Coaching, that if there's an area of life where I'm committed to, I'm dedicated to strive for excellence. Okay, then naturally we want coaches to encourage us, to give us feedback where we have blind spots, to challenge us, to stretch us in growth inspiring ways. I was employed with the state of Florida. I had a few positions over the years. children and family counselor in the Department of Foster Care, social work services program manager, and they were good jobs. My wife and I, we had 2 young children at the time, and the jobs had health benefits and like that. Starting into the mid and late 90s, into the 2000s, we began to develop and conduct the Satvatove seminars along with Marie Glasheen. And I was continuing with my service, my employment with the state. And it got to the point in the job I had with the state of Florida, it got to the point where I was getting paid for 40 hours a week, and I was doing the job in 5 to 10 hours. I was doing the job in 5 to 10 hours, and it was great. I was using the other time. In the 90s, I completed my PhD. I was developing other projects in our spiritual community, and I was actually doing the job in 5 to 10 hours. And it was good job, good people. There's the saying, the good can be the enemy of the best. And for me, it got to the point where I could no longer tolerate even that 5 or 10 hours that did not represent me living my distinctive life purpose. And so actually late in 2003, I left that. I left that position with the state. And that was the year that Marie and I left the position, and I dedicated myself fully to what for me is purposeful living, living from purpose, inspiration, joy, rather than from survival, fear, insecurity. And that was the year that we developed the Satvatove Institute School of Transformative Coaching, 2004. And before that, we had Satvatove seminars, and that's when we started expanding our programs, including the coaching school. Actually, just 2 days ago, I coached someone. It was his first session with me. I know him from seminars going back a few years. And so he came to coaching because he's thinking about staying where he's at in his company. He has a high position in his company, or going to a different company that's making a better offer. And in the course of coaching, he came to realization that really he's not inspired by either possibility, which might sound like a rather discouraging result of a coaching session, but he realized that, yeah, he could stay in this chair, or he could take energy and move to that chair, which is more comfy. But neither possibility is well, because he has a very responsible job. He has a wife and children, and very responsible person. And so because I asked him, sometimes I do this in coaching, I asked him the billion-dollar question. Okay, if you had $10 billion in the bank, what would you do? And he was very clear, I wouldn't do either of these companies. And again, both are good jobs, not like they're bad jobs. But he says, yeah, I wouldn't do either of these companies. And then he started talking about what a life of inspiration, purpose, what would look like. And then he got excited, and that's the direction of our coaching. That within 6 months to transform his life in that direction in a solid way. When I was 17 years old, just out of high school, I entered university, Penn State University, as an engineering major. I was able to do math and science pretty well, and I understood that with just a bachelor's degree in engineering, I could get like a job with good pay. And after 3 years, I was doing my engineering courses, 3 years of college. I was 1 year away from my bachelor's of science degree in engineering. And simultaneously in those years, I was doing some self-discovery, personal growth work. And it came to the point where I was not able to deny, because I was doing internships in engineering, it came to the point where I was not able to deny that I'm really not fulfilled in this engineering work. For me personally, like, I'm really not happy here, not joyful. And then even though I was only 1 year away from that degree, I switched my major to psychology. Now for me, that wasn't essentially about a switch of major to get a different degree. For me, it represented a shift of focus of my consciousness from external to that which is more subtle, And for me, this led to focusing as the years went on that which is more and more subtle. Patrick mentioned the Satvatove Institute's statement of purpose: spiritually based, personal and group transformation through empowered communication, courageous introspection, and purposeful action. So the first term there is spiritually based. To use an analogy, let's say like the computer. So the computer has hardware and software. So I'm not the hardware and I'm not the software. I'm the operator of the computer. Maybe a more crude analogy, just like if I'm driving a car, I'm not the car, I'm the driver. I remember this was in 2014, I was conducting a presentation. It was at a hospital in Colorado, a town called Golden, Colorado. And so most of the audience was doctors, nurses, psychiatrists, some social workers, mostly medical personnel. So I started my presentation and I said, let's say someone comes to you and says, I've hurt my finger. Now, in that simple phrase, my finger, there are two entities. There's the finger and there's the owner of the finger. So I asked them, who are you treating? Are you treating the finger or the owner of the finger? So they sat there looking kind of puzzled. The director of the hospital, who was a surgeon, he said, well, David, that's a simple question. But you know, we've never really thought about it. And I said, yeah, it's an important question because the finger, it's made of the same stuff as that window shade, as that table. It's dead matter. There's no healing potency in the finger. The healing potency is in that irreducible quanta of consciousness that's the owner of the finger. I might be coaching someone on their career. I might be coaching someone on their finances, on a book project, on communication in their family, on their health, on whatever topic. And my endeavor, my intention is that they feel fully received in what's happening for them, meeting them fully received. My intention, and for anyone who comes into coach training, my intention is to support, guide, challenge you to cultivate expertise, to be able to create safe and sacred space when you choose for clients or for whoever, for family members, because again, these are universal principles for anyone dedicated to high-level interpersonal relating, to create safe and sacred space where all thoughts, all emotions are acceptable. And in the container of that safe and sacred space, to support and lovingly challenge clients to connect with the highest guidance within, to move towards self-realization, to make distinctions between what's a mask, what's a facade, and what's authentic. Because to the extent that you, me, him, to the extent that we're living based on fear behind a mask, our experience of self and life will be shallow, empty, quiet desperation, empty desperation. So that whoever I'm speaking to feels completely received, and in that container, supporting them in self-exploration, which this process of self-discovery, process of self-realization, the self turning towards itself in self-discovery, the self turning towards the absolute, the supreme, in a spirit of devotion. My point of view is, this is my stance, is this is the most important thing we can do in the human form of life. Words like friendship or love can be used, widely and loosely. And so my point of view is that, like, this is real friendship. This is a vital component of actual loving relations. The capacity, the will, the courage to support ourselves and others in the process of distinguishing reality from illusion, in the process of courageous introspection, self-discovery, realizing who we are and who we've been pretending to be. I've been through many coaching courses, transformational courses, personal growth, self-development, many over the more than 40 years. And basically, I've found two basic philosophies of transformation. One philosophy is what I'll call the blank slate approach. The blank slate approach, the idea is that at the core, we are nothing. And on the foundation of that nothing, we can invent any possibility we choose. Now, that's not where I come from. I'm confident that I'm representing the blank slate approach, because I've been in rooms of dozens and hundreds of people celebrating that they are nothing. I've been there, okay? And so that's not where we come from in Satvatove, including Satvatove coaching. Where we come from is what I'll call the diamond approach, that at the core, we're not nothing. At the core, metaphorically, we're intrinsically a diamond. And like a diamond is always strong, shining, effulgent, radiant. And a diamond can get covered. It can get covered by dust, dirt, thick mud. So much of transformative coaching and transformative coach training, because I can tell you, in coach training in Satvatove, you'll get a lot of, you'll get an abundant amount of training in skill development and in interpersonal development, because they go hand in hand. To the extent that I'm alive and courageous in my personal process, shining light on dark spot, shadow areas, and looking at self-deceptions, I'm going to be more effective and potent in supporting clients in their courageous introspection. And if there's places where I'm stuck and deceptive and not realizing I'm stuck, then I'll be limited in my capacity to support clients in their process. So in the diamond approach, we're not nothing. At the core, we are that atomic unit of sentience. We're that owner of the finger, the driver of the car. And this diamond approach is based on ancient wisdom traditions, ancient traditions of sublime knowledge. So you might say, we're very conservative in that we're conserving rigorously these ancient principles, this ancient wisdom, and our methods of application are somewhat unconventional and innovative. But the principles are very conservative, meaning very ancient, even eternal. And so much of transformation, I don't even know if transformation is the correct word, because a diamond's always a diamond, but so much of transformation, if we want to call it that, it's a process of uncovering. looking at what's the actual diamond, or here's some mud I've allowed to cover that part of the diamond. These principles, these methods, these skills are potent in my experience to transform cultures, in companies and organizations, small business, mid-size, and international corporations. This was a mid-size international oral healthcare products company, and they brought in Satvatove. They had branches in Florida, Switzerland, and India. There was the three places, and they brought us in, and we focused a lot. We focused a lot on communication training. I was doing a lot of one-on-one coaching with one of the mid-level managers, and he was feeling so much tension, anxiety. He was trying to manage his team of like 12 factory workers. And in a few workshops, a few sessions, he along with his team, they transformed the whole unit. Through learning the art and science of how to transform conflict into closeness through excellence in communication. And I was, I remember this was a mid-size transportation company in North America. Their base was Florida. And their, one thing we focus a lot on in transformative coach training is coaching clients around their relationship with their commitments, with their agreements. And so my first sessions were with there were 5 young entrepreneurs in their 20s and 30s. And I met with them. It was like group coaching. They all had many strong points, and they all admitted that one of their very weak points is their word with each other was terrible, right? They would say something, they wouldn't follow through. Very low trust culture. So right in the first session, we worked on that rather rigorously, and we gave structures, we gave exercises. And they came back 2 weeks later, and they were really beaming that their relationship with their commitments with each other had become impeccable, and they could already experience it was transforming the whole environment in the entire company, from low trust culture towards high trust culture, towards clean, towards being one with one's word. And so yeah, like because also in corporate coaching, executive coaching, if I'm doing executive coaching, I will learn something about the industry. Essentially though, when they're bringing me in, they're not bringing me in because I'm an expert in their industry. And here's the thing, in transformative coaching, I know that I'm not the expert in the client's life. I trust the client as the expert in their life. And I'm cultivating excellence. I'm cultivating expertise to facilitate self-realization, to facilitate the client or group of clients to connect with the highest guidance within. And so that's my field of where I'm endeavoring to cultivate mastery. I'm here to support you in your self-realization, so that you'll be making executive decisions from a place of deep connection with who you are and life purpose. if we have a string of zeros, 10, 20, 30 zeros, what's the value? The value is 0. Now, if we put a 1 in front of the zeros, okay, then the 1 gives value, right? Then it becomes a trillion, a quadrillion. Okay. Now the zeros, that can be like, yeah, like achieving goal or production-oriented coaching. Yeah, the zeros can be my financial development, economics, my physical fitness, the house I live in, the car I have, the social status I have, and we know it's all 0. Now the 1, that's that self-realization. That's the self turning towards itself and self-awareness. That's why I'll say, in coach training, I'll say so many times, I rarely speak in absolutes, but here's an absolute. Every quality session has awareness raising, self-realization. Most quality sessions have action planning. Most quality sessions have action planning. Every quality session has awareness raising, substantial self-realization. So that's our, and if that's missing, then we know it's just empty. That Saint Francis said, we are searching for what is searching. Right? So in all that we're seeking to attain and achieve and acquire, status, money, this relationship, all of our action, and we're always seeking for some experience, an experience of power or love, or to feel valuable or secure or peaceful or fulfilled or happy or joyful. And we're searching for what is searching, because those qualities that we're searching for, they are inherent in the diamond who we are. So, and then you're sharing also, Marina, yeah, you're sharing for me also points to the importance of association, well, for all human beings. And we're talking about particularly for coaches. That's our focus here, so that we're getting, whether it's quality focused supervision, that we're like kind of like somehow or other, we're surrounding ourselves with people that care. In a sense, we're surrounding ourselves with people that care enough about us that they don't care whether we like them. Yeah, that like, because now coaching itself is not about popularity. Like, well, I want to be liked. Well, probably coaching's not the profession. I mean, because in coaching, we need, it's vital that I'm detached from approval, from popularity, from compliments, from adoration, from distinction, that I'm detached so that I'm free to tell it like it is. Hopefully with a caring heart, not to tell it like it is, and me living authentically, telling it like it is. Some people, my experience, some people are inspired by me, and some people admire me, and some people get angry with me, and some people reject me. Some people even hate me, I would say. And so like to like surround ourselves with true, like a true association of self-realization, true friendship, where those in the community, whether it's a small community of a few or a larger community, those in the community have sufficient skill and courage and clarity to create truly sacred spaces in relationship, and then from that place, that like it's truly safe relationships to share the heart and mind confidentially, to inquire confidentially, and to give and receive honest feedback about, where it's just like, well, I hear you're doing well in life, and my sense is you're coasting, and your sense of complacency, your sense of lethargy, your sense of like, yeah, I have a good life, but blah. Yeah, that's because like you're coasting, you're complacent. So that's something that's coming to me, whether it's getting one coach who's ready to play that role for you, or a sangha of peers or whatever, not just for you, for me too. I'm seeing myself in your sharing, Marina. I appreciate your sharing very much. And that's where surrounding ourselves with like quality people who are ready to be, to share honestly with a caring heart, but without compromise. What would you like to speak about?
Well, many of the things you've just said, I really felt like you were speaking to me directly. I know you weren't, but they certainly applied directly to me. And, I have taken many of the transformative workshops and some coaching too. But I think my diamond has definitely been covered over, and I haven't kept up with the coaching. And but what really, I think, best describes me were the adjectives you used: complacent, complacency. I think that's really where I'm coming from, and you know, um, I'm very comfortable in my life, and I still keep coming around to Satvatove and Satvatove people, because I think that I know I'm not living my life to the fullest. I know that. I know I'm not completely um, satisfied. Uh, and yet, I wear the mask of pretending that I'm happy and that everything is good, and that I don't want to change. I don't want to do anything differently. So complacency and laziness is there, and it's a little sad because, I am a decade older than you. I don't know how much time I even have left. Uh, I am doing some things which I think are really enlivening in my life, yet, um, and I'm trying to eliminate the things that are not enlivening. I think I'm pretty good at doing that. But a lot of the times, yeah, I think I've got some anartas that are some habits that are not healthy for me, and then I'm having a hard time giving up. So yeah, I'm saying a lot here. So I think that number one, uh, is this the authentic me when I say that I'm happy with my life and being in my complacency? You know, is that authentic, or is that just a mask?
Okay. Well, I'm hearing, Len, a few things. I'm hearing in many of the things we spoke in the first part of our workshop. You felt personally talked to, resonated with you. I mean, in an unsettling way. You were like looking into the mirror in much of what we expressed, and that and I'm hearing like this was like over practically 10 years now, you're gravitating again and again to the Satvatove environment because you want a challenging environment. I get that. Yeah, you've got a good life, you've got a comfortable life. You are truly enthused about many of the things you're doing. At the same time, you also know you experience yourself. There's lethargy, there's complacency, there's yeah, there's less than full urgent commitment to to live your legacy 100%. And because you've been dedicated to self-awareness since we've known each other, that's like more and more, it's like that's not acceptable, it's not satisfying. That's kind of knocking at the door, wanting to be heard.
Yeah, yeah. Like deep down, I know that I'm not really living my life fully.
Yeah.
And it's painful to admit that. And it's also yeah, it's a lot easier not to go to those places and to just pretend that things are, hunky dory, I don't want to, I don't want to uh, wallow not wallow, but I avoid the painful
Avoid the pain.
feelings. Avoid
Yeah.
the painful feelings.
I'm hearing, Lynn, you don't want to wallow in the pain and make a whole drama of it. At the same time, you get that a significant part of your life energy is devoted to avoiding the pain, numbing the pain. And
Yes.
yeah, right. And I'm getting, again, you have more and more awareness of that. And it's sad and painful to see yourself doing that. And I'm getting what kind of like what you'd like is like to allow yourself to experience the pain, not just indulge in it and become depressed, but experience the pain and let it move you. Let it move you a few quantum jumps up to to a much greater life of urgency and purpose.
Yeah. Experience all the emotions, not just the pain, but the love too. There's lots of love I feel that's around me that I don't fully absorb, and that I don't fully express either. So it's like some of these self-imposed limitations I put on myself, and certainly room for growth, even though I'm 70.
Yeah, yeah, right. Well, okay. So just to reference the vehicle and the driver. So okay, maybe the vehicle 70. And I get that you've got a lot of love in your heart. You've got a lot of inspiration to share, to make a difference, to move people in wonderful ways. And you're doing that. You're doing that. But maybe, yeah, maybe like about 10 to 20% of that inspired, loving Len, that core spirit soul that's brilliant like the sun. Maybe 10 or 20% is radiating. And like you want to bring that to 40, 50, 90, 99, like
Yeah, at least, yeah, double it, yeah.
double it. Yeah.
Thank you, David, yeah.
Okay, and then in our closing minutes, I mean, let's say if we look at, okay, we're about two 2 weeks left in July. This is to give it a time frame. What's maybe something concrete you could do between now and the end of July that would maybe, move the needle towards 15, 20% from 10%. And by you mentioning it, it's not like you're committing to it. I'm just like asking it to brainstorm. What's something you could do? And if it comes out of your mouth, it doesn't mean that you're locked into it.
Yeah, well, that's easy for me to say what I could do. Yeah, I could do more Harinam.
Yeah.
As it is right now, I do maybe mm, at least an hour a week, and it's very enlivening. And I only do it really to please a friend of mine who does an hour of it every day.
Yeah.
But I could increase the
Okay.
amount of time doing that. And also, I really would like to be a more positive person, giving out more compliments. This is really so difficult for me to do. It's so easy for me to find fault, but giving a compliment is like, I don't have the intelligence to do it. I don't know what it is. I feel like blocked. So yeah, I want to increase the number of compliments and just love, expressing the love to other people, getting that out there in the next 2 weeks. That would be one of my goals.
Okay, I appreciate your sharing, Lynn. So, and just for those who might not know the terminology, Harinam is like you're talking about, like going out on the street and sharing, singing the names of the divine to enhance the spiritual vibration in people's hearts. And okay, and I'm hearing, Len, that you'd really like to notice yourself sharing heartfelt appreciation for other people more. Heartfelt appreciation.
Yeah, you got me, David. Thank you.
Okay, and before we close, if you'd like, would you like to, for one or both of them, make any like specific measurable time-oriented commitment? I'm not pressuring you, just giving you the opportunity.
Yeah. Well, yes, I would like to, in the next 2 weeks, I would say give at least 4 compliments to my wife.
Okay. 2 weeks, at least till the end of July, at least 4 compliments to Annapurna, Mother Annapurna. Okay. Yes. All right. Well, I'm happy for her. Okay. And I heard you said you would like to. Are you committed to?
Yes, I will give 4 compliments to Annapurna in the next 2 weeks. 2 compliments a week, yeah.
Okay. And for the Harinam, you want to keep that open-ended, or would you also like to use the tool of commitment on that one?
I'll keep that one as it is, yeah.
All right. Len, I appreciate very much that you volunteered and your courage to be vulnerable. Thank you, Len. In many professions, like psychology or clinical social work or psychiatry, at least speaking as far as the laws in the United States, in many professions, you're not allowed to coach someone who's your friend or family member and someone who outside. You're not allowed. If you do, you'll lose your license, or at least you're at risk. So there's considered ethical boundaries. So in coaching, in Satvatove coaching, we also have our code of ethics, as does the International Coach Federation. We have our code of they have their code of ethics and like that. So there, it's not so clear cut. The risk is acknowledged. The risk is acknowledged because of the potential dual roles, conflicting roles. And so, because like now I'm in the role of coach, but then just that, am I really able to cleanly coach? So my focus is to be aware of the potential risk of dual roles or conflicting roles. Now, if the coach or counselor knows someone in some other capacity, that can enhance the empathy. So there's possible advantages. Okay. I know one, she was in Satvatove coach training, and she conducted a whole package of coaching sessions with her mother. Imagine that. and I'm not going to like generally recommend like coach your mother, but but she did it, like both her and her mother. They just had the boundary. They weren't pretending they didn't have this mother-daughter relationship, but they just were able to flow with it within the coaching, and they actually they made it work very, very effectively. So there are risks, and we talk about that in coach training. We have a substantial component, ethics and transformative coaching. And so, and where I go with ethics, like I ask the participants in coach training to ask lots of questions that they have about ethics and coaching. And I promise them, I'm not going to answer any of your questions, because ethics and coaching, it tends not to be about, here's the answer. It does tend to be about awareness of danger areas, awareness of risky areas. And I say, if you want to avoid risk in coaching, the way to do it is to don't coach. Meaning, we coach a few clients, we're going to run into ethical areas. So I'm encouraging participants in Satvatove coach training. I'm encouraging participants to consciously, intelligently develop their own ethical framework that's aligned with their integrity, their values, their principles. And so some might decide, I'm not going to coach someone with whom I have a friendship. I'm never going to coach a friend. And others might decide, yes, I'm going to do it with these boundaries. And just like this word ethics. Okay, it comes from the Greek ethos, right? Ethos. And so it's the same root as ether. So like there's 5 basic, what's called mahabhuta, gross elements. Bhumira po nalo vayu kamana buddha evacha. Earth, water, fire, air, ether. So ether is the most subtle of the gross material elements. Space, ether is space. So earth, water, fire, air, they all exist within space. They all exist within ether, within ethos. So that's why this ethics, it's not just a dry conversation. All of our coaching or counseling, it's all within the ethical house, the ethical space that we build. And so we all have an ethics, we just might not be conscious of it. So a lot of what we do in transformative coach training is supporting the trainees to look at what are my current ethics values around coaching. Am I comfortable with that? Does that work for me? How does that apply to situation like dual relationships?
I think I raised my hand out of panic more than anything, especially because when you were talking about living the principles, and I really get this. So when I definitely want to sign up for the coaching program in November. And what really scares me is that I'm not living a purposeful life. Like, I'm working at the moment, a little bit in the situation that you said. So I'm employed for about 4 days, and actually can get away with only working an hour a day, but I have to be stuck at my desk. And I do sneaky things where I read books, and I am reading a phenomenal amount of books, and I seem to be in this place of flow. So I do trust where I'm at, but there's so much like learning and that I'm doing. And I just think, at what point am I going to serve? And I think that's what scares me. Like, we talk about service and living a purposeful life. And I just think I'm doing a lot, I'm reading a lot, I'm taking a lot of courses. When am I actually going to give? And how do I give? Like, if I do the coaching, will I become a coach? I'm not sure that I'll take it into action. And I know it sounds strange, but I'm not the sort of person to not take action. I'm very active. I'm happy to put myself out there, but something just doesn't feel right. I'm not doing it because something doesn't feel right, and I just don't know what it is. And I just don't know. I'm very confused right now. When it comes to the service part, I'm very confused.
I'm hearing, Alicia, that you're experiencing a lot of emotional charge. You use the term like correctly, panic, fear, and you're experiencing a lot of confusion. I get there's a lot of anxiety, fear mixed in or beneath the confusion, that you could relate to my story where I was doing 5 hours a week for a 40-hour per week job. You have a cushy job in many respects, and you're reading books. It's enriching your intellect and your spirit. Very nice. At the same time, there's something in you, just like there's a emerging more and more pushing to like get out there and make a difference, serve, make a difference, and like that, and it has you unsettled because you're not quite sure what to do with it, how to concretely apply it, and that's your confusion.
Yeah, and as you reflect that back to me, I'm coming back to everything that I've ever read that says when you follow your Dharma, you're only ever given a few steps at a time. So like if I decide to study, I don't know, accountancy, obviously I can see my plan, right? I'm an accountant, I'm then going to become a finance manager, XYZ. And it's because it's coming from the mind. But when it's Dharma, you're only following, you're only given, and you're only drawn to do the first few steps. If you actually do those steps, the feedback and the intelligence comes from doing. And so, as I've said that to you, and this is the reason why I advertise my women's circles, because I recognize that I need to serve, I want to have a huge impact, but I'm not going to have any impact if I don't take one step. And so I feel like I've almost answered my own question. I have done the right thing in advertising the women's circles, and I need to chill. I always like to run before I can walk, and I need to just chill out.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah, I hear you're getting realization as you're sharing. You're getting realization that like that you have clarity on what's the next step, and your frenzy can be like, yeah, but what's 10 steps ahead? And like kind of like that's not your role. That's not your role to just be in anxiety. What's 10 steps? Like, yeah, here's the next step. And sometimes we use because sometimes we talk about insight leading to action, but more frequently, action inspires insight. The transformation is through the action. And so you see, okay, here's the next step. And you don't know what the next 5 steps are till you take that step. Then you'll get super soul realization. Then you'll get realization of the highest guidance within. I hear that just in our few minutes here, you're coming to some clarity.
Yeah, I think the panic is coming from, I guess, I'm sorry to say this, Leonard, it's like that age thing. I'm almost going to be 40, and it's like that panic is coming to me. Like, when am I going to give? Like, time is running out. You know, a friend of mine committed suicide in December, and it's like this urgency. Like, we don't know how much time we have left, and it drives me insane. Sorry, I'm so passionate about it, but like, it's like, yeah, we just don't know how long we have left, and that panic is inside of me. Like, do it now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and so like here is that urgency because you have a friend maybe about your age and she killed herself, and that it's a wake up call. It's a wake up call, and like yeah, like urgency. Yeah, it's all very emotional for you, Alethea. Very very emotional, and so yeah, I guess I'm seeing like urgency is like appreciating the value of each moment and not wanting to waste any moment. And like till now, your urgency has somewhat moved you to like a panic. No, I don't want to waste a moment. And now I get that you're in the process of letting that urgency, rather than move you to anxiety and discouragement or like that, let that urgency move you to clear, productive action.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I feel a lot calmer inside because I also trust the signs that I get. And I have been getting a lot of signs. You know, I feel like I get a lot of feedback from the universe. And so I can actually trust where I'm at. I need to learn in order to give as well. So there's that element. And it's okay. Where I am it's okay. I'm good.
You're good. I experience you, not just cognitively. I experience you, Alethea, coming to genuine acceptance, not resignation, like but like really acceptance that you're good, you're okay. This is I really accepting. This is an ideal place to be, to take that next step, and trusting further growth and realization happens from there.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Alethea. I appreciate your courage. Thanks for sharing. A basic principle is to see the world from the other person's perspective as a foundation. Not just that I see the world from your perspective, but you get that I see the world from your perspective. Okay. Now, to understand the world from your perspective doesn't mean that I agree with your perspective, but I understand. It is said people don't care what you know till they know that you care. Often, a great way to show that I care is to suspend my judgments, my praise, my criticism, my arguments, my making you right, making you wrong. To suspend that, not to pretend it's not there, to acknowledge, yeah, I have some judgments. I got some advice I'd like to give. I got some praise, some criticism. I got some analysis of you, but I'm going to suspend that to show that I understand what you're feeling and what your worldview is like. And then when I get that you've suspended your stuff to really understand what's happening for me, I'm likely to open up to, well, what's your perspective? What's your perspective? Whereas if I'm not feeling fully received, then you start giving your perspective, your feedback, your advice, what happened in your life last year, whatever. Then well, yeah, you're saying this and that, but you don't really understand me. So see the world from another person's perspective, and that's a powerful foundation to support the other person to open up to broader perspectives, to consider them. Yes, so that's the thing. We have not just a whole course, we have a whole school, so many skills, so many methods, so many tools. And we do focus primarily on at the start of a relationship, creating that foundation of trust and tools and methods that will support that. The Christian philosopher Paul Tillich said, the first duty of love is to listen. So then someone feels, wow, you've cared enough about me to listen deeply. I don't know if you agree or not, but you've listened deeply. And then there's that safe container. Sometimes understanding is compared to life air. Like if I get the wind knocked out of me and I'm gasping for breath, well, you can offer me a pile of money. You could offer me my favorite meal. It won't matter. All I want is air. Similarly, especially in emotionally charged situations around hurt, woundedness, fear, panic, intimidation, grief, resentment, shame. Oftentimes, all we want is to be understood. And at those times, even good advice or analysis or praise, you're a great person, David. It won't hit the spot, because all I want is to be understood. So that we focus there as a foundation. It's definitely not the only principle or the only tool. And also, George Bernard Shaw said, the greatest difficulty with communication is the illusion that it has taken place. Meaning that, sure, I might share advice. Here's how I think you should solve your problem. And there can be there's a place for all of that in transformative coaching. But oftentimes, I might give my solutions and advice and feedback, assuming that I've understood what you said. Whereas if I'm going to reflect first, then you can confirm, yes, you've understood fully what I've said. And now the trust is deepened. Or you might say, well, thanks for showing your understanding what I said. I'd say you got about 70% of it. On this 30%, you didn't quite understand me. So let me repeat that part. So it really helps with the illuminating connection. several aspects of transformative coaching for almost everyone who enters the program. It goes against their nature, or at least goes against their conditioning. And now, so whatever tools and talents you have, you won't lose them. And so in this, like in principles and practices of transformative coaching, it's about expanding our toolbox. Because I'm sure, Alethea, there's many circumstances in relationships, in communication, where what you already have in your toolbox is just ideal, it's powerful, it's complete. And there might be other areas where maybe you less than consciously just automatically go to what's in your toolbox, but it's not necessarily the most effective. And so, okay, something like, okay, empathic listening. Yeah, we do focus there rigorously. At the same time, there's a whole huge toolbox. This is an important one. It can be like, okay, let's use the analogy of like learning to ride a bike. Okay, so let's say I want to get somewhere, and it's I don't know, 2 miles away, and I'm learning to ride a bike, and I go 10 feet and I fall. Okay, and, I go, okay, this is not efficient at all. I know how to walk there. Let me just walk there, okay? But then actually, if I stay with it and I learn how to ride the bike, then after some time, wow, this is flowing, this is smooth. It's more fun than walking, it's more efficient, it's more effective, but it took some willingness, some austerity to practice.